What's up guys, and welcome back to another EVE Online video. Today we are back talking about planetary interaction or planetary production, in part to satisfy a bounty over on justabout.com. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out a link in my description and go and check out Just About, which is a brand new kind of social media platform, which is super friendly, a great community over there. We have an EVE Online community, loads of good information and detail, and it's trying to become a one-stop shop for all things EVE Online, plus other stuff going on. But if you're watching this video, you're probably interested in EVE. I am going to do some PI. Why am I doing this? If you are not new to my channel, you'll have seen several PI videos in the past. And basically, I have a relatively comprehensive setup. I've got 6 toons all doing PI. Not quite maxed out, but I think I've got something like 32 planets maybe. And with that, I have 3 tier 4 production chains. But it's not the most efficient for various reasons, including YouTube and things. So I want to make some changes and basically thought I'd bring you along for the ride while I set up a 4th tier 4 production chain. I'm going to try and be concise. I do want to reduce the time of my videos, but there is a lot I want to cover, so let's see how we get on. So I am on my I have a specific character that tries to do all of my main tier 4 production, because it's simpler to send all of my tier 1 materials to just one character to deal with this, which to date has worked great. So you can see in my item hanger I just have a whole bunch of tier 1 materials which all of my other toons produce, and they send to this character. And then this character takes these T1 materials and turns them all into T4s. That's how I've got my setup. So I've got currently 4 characters pumping T1 into this character, and this one turns that into T4. That's the plan. I've got wetware mainframes going. I have nano factories, and I have sterile conduits. That's what I enjoy doing, and that's what works for me. I want to add a 4th. First point to mention is you can only set up the advanced manufacturing facilities, the high-tech production facilities, which is the facility you need to produce tier 4, can only be set up on a barren or a temperate planet, which is very important. And so in my system there are 2 barrens and 1 temperate planet, and the rest are others, which means this character has reached the limit of the number of T4s it can have. It's barren, barren, temperate. So I've got to set up my planet on a new character. I will head over to that character in just a second. Actually, let's go there now. There's going to be a little bit of character jumping to go and see what's going on. So we'll go over to Quad, who is working on some PI skills at the moment, but you will see that he was set up to do
skill training completed.
Robotics. Sorry, not robotics. There is robotics in here, but fuel block PI on one account. If you've seen on my video, I did a series on getting fuel block PI set up on a single account. That was this one, but I didn't like doing it day to day in parallel to my other setup, so I've killed this. I've emptied the planets, they're not working anymore, and I'm going to go through and strip everything off to get set up for new extraction and everything, depending on what I want to go for. So how do you do that? First things first, you can literally just open up your command center, hit decommission, and it will, you could go through and delete everything if you really want to, but you go to your command center, hit decommission, and it gets rid of everything. Bam, done. So I will go through and do that on all of these, but you don't need to watch me do that. And why do I think setting up a fourth planet is a good idea? Basically, you've just seen I have a stockpile of T1 materials, right? So I'm producing 3 tier 4 materials constantly, but I still have a stockpile of 4 billion ISKs worth of T1 materials. And I'm not willing to ship them out and sell them as they are. I will sell them to courtmates if they need them in system, but I am not going to take them to market, so I need to use them somehow. So why not add a fourth? How am I going to choose my fourth? There are several tools online that you can use. Hands.io, I believe, has a PI. There's a whole bunch, but recently I've been using Adam for Eve's system, which you can see in front of me now. I'm just going to turn off my blur for a second so you can see the whole thing. This is Adam for Eve. I'm going to try and zoom in because it's very small at this resolution. But basically, when you first land, it will be blank. You'll have this table up here, and the rest of it will be blank. You input into this list what you want to make, basically. So if you know what you want to make, you put it in here. If you're not sure, you can go through the list. So I know I want to make P4. You can go through the list, hit show me, and it will bring up the full chain of everything, ultimately going into your P4 material. Few important things to note, which you can discover through Adam for Eve, or you can find this out in game, is some Tech 4s are a lot more complicated to make than others. And I can show you that in Adam for Eve, which I'll do in a second. Which I'll do first, actually, because I'll flick back to my other character and you can see it in game as well. So I make wetware mainframes. Okay. You can see that here. High-tech production plant, wetware mainframes. Going into that, at the P3 level, you have supercomputers, which is a P3 and requires an advanced facility. You have biotech research report, which is a P3, requires advanced industry facility. And you have cryoprotectant solution, P3, it requires advanced. And then similarly, each of these three requires 3 input P2s. Which you think, okay, no problem, that makes sense. That's also the case for a few others in here. So if we go for self-harmonizing power cores, for example, what have we got? This is already a bit simpler, okay, than wetware mainframes. Again, you've got self-harmonizing power core, P4. You have 1 P3 input, 2 P3 inputs, 3 P3 inputs, so that's the same. But then when you get down to P2, each P3 input only requires 2 P2s. Whereas wetware mainframe, each P3 requires 3 P2s. So already more complicated to make. So why would you make wetware mainframes, you might ask? And then you can go even further, and so nanofactories, sterile conduits are 2 examples of these, and this is why I make them. Once again, you have sterile conduits, which has 3 input materials, but you'll notice P3, P3, P1. So you only require 2 P3 inputs, and each of these only require 2 P2s. So it's so much simpler to make some P4s than others, and you want to do that research and find out what you want to make. So for simplicity's sake, I want to stick with ones that are only 2 P3s and a P1. And so you've got sterile conduits is one, nanofactory is another one I make, which has a P1 and 2 P3s, and through looking around at Adam for Eve, I have realized organic mortar applicators are another one. 2 P3s and a P1. So that's what I'm going to go with. And there's another reason I'm going to go with that one as well, which I'll elaborate on in a second. I'm not trying to min-max my PI, which I think is an important point to make. I am not min-maxing my PI. I am going with what I find easiest and most enjoyable to do that fits into my workflow. If you want to min-max your PI, you can use Adam for Eve to estimate the cost and the profit for each element and decide whether it's worth making. So that's, you can decide, is it worth making wetware mainframes that are way more complicated because actually ultimately your profit is way higher, maybe. But I'm going to make organic mortar applicators because it's simple. And the other reason is I have a little spreadsheet going on here with my existing planets. This is one I've added just to mention, just to work out what I need for the next one. This is a very, very simple spreadsheet. As I say, I'm not trying to min-max, so there's no numbers or anything in here necessarily. And I've just done a count of the number of the units of each item I need, and then kind of the number of planets I currently have producing each item type. But you'll see over here, I've just today added the numbers of each P1 in my stockpile to have a check as to where my bottlenecks are. So you can see industrial fibers, for example, significantly lower than the other values, so maybe that's a bottleneck for me. I actually know from experience, because I only need it on one production chain here at Nanofactory, 2 counts of it to produce nanofactories, that this hasn't been my bottleneck to date. My bottlenecks are actually proteins, particularly, and bacteria, and biomass. And you'll actually notice a tiny dash next to these. That's to remind me that these values are warped, because I buy these occasionally from Corpmates, and so these are inflated stockpiles currently based on my Corpmates, because I've got my Corpmates. So I want to avoid proteins, bacteria and biomass if I can, and probably industrial fibers to be fair. But I'll happily use up electrolytes, happily use up more chiral structures. The toxic and reactive metals I definitely want to use up. And so that thinking has gone into my thing over here. So when I've opened up organic mortar applicators, at level 1, P1 basic here, do I have bacteria? Do I have biomass? Do I have proteins? No to all of those things. But chiral structures to use up, great. Toxic use up, reactive use up, electrolytes use up, great. So really good for my current stockpiles. There is bacteria up here, but this is a significantly lower volume than you need at these levels, so it's okay. Which is why I have this in red here, because these are all the items I need, and then one much, much lower volume of bacteria, basically. So yes, that is this, and that's how I've chosen that I'm going to do organic mortar applicators for my planet. I've then added the elements I need into here, and then a count of how many planets I'll need. Not planets, sorry, how many units of that material I will need. We are on what? Let's go back to Zake.
Connecting.
And I'll quickly show you how much more complicated the setup for the wetware mainframe is to the others. To see how you might want to choose what you're doing. If you look at wetware mainframe, it's a different shape. And basically I have like 3 production units for each of the input P3 materials. So each one of these launch pads has a production unit set up around it. And because of how many different inputs there are, so biotech research reports, alright, let's go down here. Construction blocks, I've got 2. Livestock, I've got 2. Nanites, I've got 2. To produce biotech research reports to then go into the wetware mainframe. Because there's so many different paths needed, I can only have 2 of each of the P2 inputs, which gives me an output of, I think, it's not 144 a day, it's 72 units per day, I believe, of wetware mainframes. It might even be less. But basically then you go over to my other planets, my nanofactories and stuff, which is I call my Space Invader planets. And the production is doubled because of the number of factories required. At my P2 level here, so polytextiles is a P2, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 P2s. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 producing fertilizer, and so on, which allows me to have 2 P3s and then 2 P4 production lines. So it's doubled the output compared to the wetware mainframe, which is so the wetware mainframe is worth more ISK, but you can produce double of the others on the same planet. To make these planets, both types, you need to max out your command center upgrades, and then you're still close to the limit because of the number of factories you got down. Same for sterile conduits. It's the same as similar to the Space Invader planet, although I've got these up top instead of underneath. But it does the same thing. So, what do I need to do? I was hoping this was going to be a quick video. It's not. It's going to be long. We're already at 16 minutes. Me too. You can go and check out in the top right here. I have a video on how I like to set up my T1 extraction planets. An example can be seen here when it loads in. This is an example of a T1 production planet. I have 1 extractor pumping into 8 identical T1 basic industry facilities, all producing the same thing, and then 2 storage facilities and a launch pad. But check out the video linked in the top right to go and learn how to do that. I will be doing that for all of my planets, although actually I need precious metals. Precious metals I need. So I will maybe leave this planet alone because I'm already set up for precious metals. But I need a barren or a temperate. So I'm going to strip this temperate planet because I don't need any of this. So I'm definitely stripping my temperate planet. And that's now gone. Because I need a temperate or a planet for my processing facility. Do I need oxidizing compounds? Where can I get oxidizing compounds from? Go to your agency. Resource harvesting, planetary industry. What did I say I needed? Oxidizing compound. That comes from reactive gas. Oxidizing compound. So reactive gas is of course available on gas planets. Is it available anywhere else? No, just gas planets. So I need 1 of my gas planets. That's fine. We can do that. I need bacteria, which is only available on my temperate planet. So I'll probably keep the... sorry, I didn't mean bacteria. I meant proteins, which is only available on temperate planet. For me, you can get it on 1 other planet type, but it's not available in my system. So complex organisms for proteins. So I will probably keep the temperate planet allocated for that, which leaves me with my other barren planet. And just to make sure I'm not going to mess anything up, do I need any of these? I mean, microorganisms for bacteria would be good. Can I get microorganisms anywhere else? From the temperate and from the ice, so I can collect bacteria from the ice planet. So good. So I will allocate this barren planet for my high-tech manufacturing facility. So let's make sure we're viewing it. Find the command center. Decommission. Proceed. Submit. Okay. So we need a barren command center in our Epithal's command center hold. So we'll do that. We will undock, but you can stay tethered. Dock. Stop the ship so that you stay tethered. command center is in there. I was suddenly confused. I'm just going to see what we've got here. I need to go planets. Planet 2 for my Baron. New planetary industry. Now, normally you would obviously try and scan for a material so that you know where to place your stuff. I am not doing any extraction. This is all industry and manufacturing, so I don't care. I'm going to turn off my scan and I can place this wherever I want. So I'm going to put my command center in here. Do I have enough cash to do this? Probably not. I'll need to send myself some money in a second. But let's submit that. And I need to upgrade this to full. Which doesn't cost very much, 6 million. That's done. So, then what do we need? I need my high-tech production plant. So you will only see this option if you are on a Baron or a Temperate. That won't be there otherwise. Go. One here. I'm going to produce my Space Invader plant for this, so if you're wondering what I'm doing. I need a launch pad to make sure I can get my materials on and off, which I want to get as close as possible because I want to keep my links as short as possible. I have my other high-tech production plant here, the other side of it. Then I want another launch pad either side of them. Those launch pads will form the center of my other industry. And I have run out of money at that point, so I've got to send myself some cash. Please bear with me. Once your command center is down and submit, and you've hit submit, by the way, you don't have to stay undocked. So dock back up to make sure you're safe. Okay, money transferred. So launchpad, high tech, launchpad, high tech, launchpad. Again, place it there. And then P2 and P3 both happen in the same facility. They both happen in the advanced facility. So I want 4 of each P2 material. I know that from experience. I'll explain why I want 4 in a second. So I'm just going to place these 4 now. That's 4 of one, and now we'll place 4 of the second. And then I also want 2 of my P3 facilities. Place them down. That's the setup for this launch pad, and then we'll repeat on the other side. Okay, and now why have I gone for these numbers specifically? It's because you can already see my power load and CPU load are getting high, and this is on a maxed out command center. So if I wanted to produce like one more lot of everything but keep production uniform, I would need to place another 2 of each of these and 1 more of those, and you'd go way beyond the limit of the system. So I've chosen to go, because I'm doing this all on one planet, I've chosen to have the ability to produce 2 lots of the P4 constantly, and to do that I need 2 lots of the P3 feeding in and then 4 lots of the P2 feeding in. Okay, and so you can see that that production line makes sense, because if I now go organic mortar applicators on here and install it, to do 1 hour long cycle I need 6 robotics and 6 condensates plus my bacteria. That's for 1 hour long cycle. So if I go and put in my condensates now in here, which will be down here, condensates, install. The output of condensates in a 1 hour cycle is 3 units. So I need 2 units of condensates, 2 facilities of condensates every hour to satisfy 1 facility. And then similarly, I also need 6 lots of robotics. So if I put robotics in over here, same thing, 3 per hour. So I need 2 of those to satisfy 1 of those. So what you'll actually find is this second facility here won't be satisfied. It's a pointless facility. I don't produce enough to satisfy that, but I put it there for symmetry because it looks way nicer. If you get into PI, you will find that symmetry and the way everything lines up is really important to you. So this facility exists, and it's the same on my sterile conduits and my nanofactories planet. It's a dead facility. It does nothing. All of these will feed into this one. This one does nothing. But I still need all the launch pads and stuff. But that then enables me to have this one producing every hour 1 unit of organic mortar application. So I'm now going to set these up. So what was this one? Was condensates. So we just go again. Condensate, install. And you have to do routing and things as well. So I'm not going to do this on camera for all of them. But when you put that in, you then select the facility where you want it to go. But I don't have links yet. So let's now go create link. And we basically just need to link everything up. So for example, that to there, that into my launch pad. And I'm going to do the same with these. Go that to there, that into my launch pad, that to there, that into my launch pad, and I'm going to repeat for the whole thing. And then through the middle, make sure your launch pad goes to your facility, and then you just chain all the way through as well. So what that will now allow us to do, once I come back off create link, so I'll hit submit, so that we're now, these are all built, we paid for it. We go back to here, we've selected our output, and so we get our product, create route, send it to the facility that we want to be producing condensates in, not condensates, organic mortar applicators, and you can see that is no longer red. And we do make sure that they're all routed, and do the same for the robotics. This one, select robotics, and it defaults to your routing there. And so that now has all its inputs apart from bacteria, which I will route from this launch pad. Once I bring some bacteria to the planet, I'll route it from there. So I'm now going to do the same for all of my T1 planets. I'll just do it for these couple here, but the routing is slightly different. So we need, T2 facilities. We need coolant and oxides for these two. So these 4 will be coolant, these 4 will be oxides. So we start here. I want coolant, install, and because we're producing the right quantities of everything, I will just direct it straight down to this facility down the bottom on this. So these 2 are going to go to this facility, these 2 are going to go for this facility. If I create route, and we'll just check the numbers there. This produces 5 every cycle, requires an input of 10 every cycle, so we have 2 feeding 1. Perfect. Let's just repeat there, and then for these 2, repeat en route to this one, That's now what we're going to do for the rest of these. And what you should find when you've done all that is your P3 planets, your P3 facilities will lose their red ring because they have all their inputs routed in and their outputs routed out. That won't be the case for everything else because you're missing some inputs on the P4, the bacteria, and you can't do the inputs on any of these until you bring the materials to the planet. So we're going to hit submit, and I'm going to flick over to my other character again to sort out the input materials and how many of each we need. However, let's do the numbers now real quick. So we are limited to 4 input P2s per P1 material, if that makes sense. So I need 40 units of water, which is a P1 material, to have this factory cycling for 1 hour. Okay, let's get our calculator up. 40 per hour for 1, and we need 4 cycling. So I need 40 times 4, I need 160 units per hour to get this going. Good. Great. So if I want to run this for a day, multiply that by 24, and that is the number of input materials I need to run one of these for a day. There you go. So I need 3,840 water and 3,840 electrolytes to run these for a day, and the same with all the P1 materials. Allows this planet to produce organic mortar applicators for 24 hours, which is great. Now I know from experience on my own planets that there is enough storage across the launch pads with this setup, the way we've got it done, that you can run 4 days worth of production. You might be able to do slightly more, but I like to do things in round numbers. So I know I can do 4 days worth of production with this amount of storage space. So I need 15,360 of each input material. So let's go get them from my other character, and then we can get things routed. So I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what materials I need, so I'm going to need to flick back to here. So oxidizing compound and oxygen, we need 15,360 of each of these. 60. Electrolytes, water. Electrolytes, 15,360. Reactive, precious, toxic, and chiral structures. Reactive, precious, toxic, chiral structures, and I also know I need the 1 count of bacteria as well, but that's slightly different. So let's get them sent over to Quad. Then we should be able to get started. Pull these out of our delivery hangar, straight into our planetary commodities hold, and undock. This time we're going to have to warp to the planet to drop these things off. So let's do that. Let's open up our PI. We should see our organic mortar applicators planet in here. So we'll warp there. Once we land, we will just drop things off at the customs office, and then immediately turn around and dock back up so that we're not left in space for very long. We might get shot.
Warp drive active.
So we've dropped off our stuff, and then we're heading back. And how I like to divide these things up is, hopefully, the launch pads. No, I placed the launch pads in the wrong order effectively to get it lined up nicely, but you can find out your launch pad name by clicking on it and then seeing which one you want over here. So if I want to go into the left one, that's 4F. And I like to split my materials by what's being produced on this side. So if we look at this one, I need to put my oxidizing compound and oxygen go down to that one. And you can see from the launch facility that we're now over halfway. So I haven't got space to put all the water and electrolytes down there. So I'm going to put my water down there, hit transfer, and we're nearly full. So this is why I use 4 days worth of sorry, I need to undock again. No, I don't. I just view outside. There's something else you can do when you're docked. You can view outside to continue using the facilities, by the way. So this is why I use 50 and 360 in the 4-day cycles, is because the launch pads can contain this much. So now if I move to the middle launch pad, which is KE, I know I still need my electrolytes to go down there to function on the left hand side. I drop my bacteria into the middle one because it's needed for this, and this is close to it. Then I'm going to pick one for the right hand side as well to match up with this one. So let's go with chirostructures because it's top of the list and easy to remember. Transfer that. And then the last one, AF, should just take all the metals nicely lined up. Don't know why they did weird stuff then. That was odd. But so now we've got all of our materials on the planet, we can set up our routing of our P1. So again, up here we need oxidizing compound and oxygen, so we can go here, go storage, grab our oxidizing compound, create route, and just do that. Sorry, and just do that for each time. So I'm going to do it 4 times for oxidizing compound. Lots of repetitive clicks. You should see the value go down in storage. That's because it's immediately being shipped to the relevant location. Done that for oxidizing compounds, and you can see it's already there. Now we've got to do the same thing for oxygen. Oxygen, create route. Storage, oxygen, create route, go. Oxygen, create route, go. Create route. And they now have everything they need and they're ready to get started. So if you hit submit, they will just start working. And now we're going to do the same thing for all of these other facilities. So from this launch pad, I can send water to each of these. Then they will still need their electrolytes, so I'll then go to this launch pad and send the electrolytes over there. So we'll do that real quick. Okay, that takes such an annoyingly long time, but you can now see all of our P2 facilities are set up, and so are our P3 facilities, and so that just leaves the bacteria missing from our P4 facility, so we will route that there now. Create route. Click. Come on. Oh, and then we need to route the products. So product, organic mortar applicators are going into the central launch pad, and that is all set up and done. Ignore this symmetry, and as soon as I hit submit, they are working. So our P2 facilities will now run for an hour. That will kick off our P3 facilities, which will run for an hour, and that will then kick off our P4 facility, and then everything will keep running nicely for 4 days. At which point I come back and top everything up. Once you've done this once, all this routing and everything, you never have to do it again. So whilst it takes a little while, it is absolutely worth it. I hope this was informative. It went way longer than I wanted it to, but there was quite a lot of detail I wanted to explain. PI is absolutely worth it. I'm going to get my precious metals set up, and I also needed my oxidizing compounds, which will go set up on a gas planet now. Um, but yes, it's absolutely worth it. Once I have this planet set up, so I've got 4 full-time P4 planets, that will be enough ISK per month to plex one of these accounts that's running these. So there's 2 accounts, 6 characters, and that will pay to plex one of them. And that's a very casual amount of PI happening. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Go check out Just About. If you did like the video, check out my other PI stuff. I'll probably link a playlist up here. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. And I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.